the Middle East. I'm going to overlook them switching the gender of the goddess Allah into a god named Allah. And then I'm going to overlook, because I overlooked that, I won't never find out that the Quran was what Enlil gave to Alexander, but Alexander was Enlil's son. See, I wouldn't have never put these things together because of the book that they... Get this book. It's called The Book Your Church Don't Want You to Read. Everybody read that, especially if you're one of them Bible thumpers. It's necessary you read that, but in there, it's going to tell the story about Alexander, and he's being tutored in the hanging gardens, and these two angels come up to him, and that's the Muhammad story, right? So now we know who behind this shit, because the Quran was put together by Catholic priests. Ain't that something? Them the same motherfuckers that put the Old Testament together after they put the New Testament together. Dr. Ben got a lecture. I'm trying to think of the name of it. I think it's called Who Are the Jews or something like that. But in there, he said that the Old Testament was written hundreds of years after the New Testament. Let that sink in for a minute. The Old Testament was written hundreds of years after the New Testament. The New Testament was assembled in 325 AD by Emperor Constantine in the Council of Nicaea. Then 2 years later, 327, they had to call back the council because they left something out that was critical for Catholic faith. They left out the statues that the priests would sit on the altars. Right? That's a critical clue because that's Babylonian priesthood. And this is the black box that they're talking about. And the black box you call the Kaaba. So when you realize what they're doing, they're trying to hold ancient Babylonian rites together. When they hold these Babylonian rites together, then they can have you doing your self-sacrifice to their deity, they God, Yahweh, Allah. Allah is Ninursin. Yahweh is Enlil, his father, right? Bahal, the dad, was both Enlil and Enki had sons who held that title. So they switch names, they change genders, they cross-dress, anything they can do to mislead you, but they always leave you a clue. They forever leaving a clue. They got to leave a clue or else they're being in violation of galactic law. And they follow that shit, but they will bend the fuck out of a rule before they break it. They will have that motherfucker twisted up like a pretzel before they break it. So in all of their falsehoods, they gave us a little bit of truth. So when we thought that we were being made mockery of by blackface, white faces was telling black faces who was behind the white faces. And we thought it was mockery by parody when it was revelation of truth by motherfuckers being used as the fall guy, the Coach Sievers, the crash dummy, the stunt man, the stunt double, the lookalike, the actor-like, the one who take the fall for the ones who really doing the job. Them motherfuckers, right? They don't want to be nobody crash dummy, nobody Coach Sievers, stunt man. They don't want to do motherfucking real life motherfucking crash dummy tests in GM, Ford, and Chrysler vehicles while they smash into the wall to see if they gonna survive it. Don't nobody want to be in that motherfucking dumbass spot. And then at the end, when everybody get mad, you supposed to be the motherfucker that they kill just because you look different. That's fucking retarded shit. I once asked Brother Hardiel about this shit. And he said, you know what, brother? He had a real raspy voice. He said, brother, you a wise African. They can't fool a wise African. So they ain't going to be able to fool you. I said, God damn, how are you? I ain't no African, but I understand where you're coming from. I understand that trail you laying down, right? So he introduced me to Dr. Ben. I was already up on Dr. Clark. He introduced me to Dr. Valentine. He gave me about 20 Dr. Valentine tapes. I was so OD'd on Dr. Valentine, I didn't want to hear nothing else he had to say. Whew, he gave me so much Dr. Valentine to listen to. But he also gave me books to read by different people too. Hardiel that's a good ass man right there. That's a good, I don't like to say good brother, because when them dirty Moors finna come at you for some bullshit, they always say, listen here, good brother, let me holler at you for a minute. As soon as I hear that shit, my motherfucking skin go to crawling. Don't call me fucking good brother. You call me good brother, I'm so suspicious of your ass out the gate. I'm so suspicious that you don't know that suspicious could be that suspicious. I'm telling you. But anyway, Hardiel got a heart of gold. That's why his last name Hart, because he got a heart of gold. And he break bread with you. He give you all the knowledge you want. A1 brother, A to Z. I was with him for about a year in Riverside Correctional. But when I was locked up, I loved me some Atlantics. Most of us don't know about a group called the Melanic Palace of the Rising Sun out of Detroit that was formed. It was created in the Michigan Department of Corrections. And they hold Nat Turner, the idea of Nat Turner is the ideal prophet. Nat Turner is the prophet for the Melanic Palace of the Rising Sun. And so the brothers there was so like, they was like over the top with the knowledge tip, with the I don't give a fuck, right is right, wrong is wrong type shit. Them was my dudes. Anyway, so I had a lot of them that dropped a lot of knowledge on me. Some of them was taking that shit to the extreme before they even got to the roots. So, but so what they thought they was gonna do is start this helter-skelter shit. See, they tried to put Manson up to it. See, you might as well just hang up your motherfucking shit, because if you trust her, you a brave motherfucker. And that's all I got to say about that. I'm not that goddamn brave. I tried it, it didn't work. Anyway, so the different people that came with different pieces of information, right? I spent a lot of time with the brothers in the nation, a lot of times with Nuwabians, a lot of time with Sunnis. Them Sunnis is crazy. Them Sunnis is fanatical, like crackhead fanatical about a religious doctrine. I don't fuck with them. They be wrong. They the ones who put the hit out on Salman Rushdie for writing a book called Satanic Verses, because they said that it was a parody of the Prophet Muhammad. They don't even know that the Prophet Muhammad really, the character of the book comes from Rome. So that shit right there. Whew. So everybody had a different way to make us look over the water. Garvey said, form a confraternity. See, everybody talking this shit about Marcus Garvey, want everybody to go set up an empire in Africa. That ain't what Garvey taught. See, they take the stance of us working with Pan-Africanists in Africa as being that they want us all to just pack our shit and move to Africa. Was the dumbest shit I ever heard. And I read through all the Garvey stuff, everything I could find, written by him or somebody wrote about him. I see a bunch of people saying return home, but I don't see no bunch of motherfuckers say we all need to go to Africa, because everybody ain't from no fucking Africa. That's just the way it is. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So let me show y'all something. Because of Garvey saying get a good formal confraternity, and if you're gonna join politics, be a Pan-Africanist. Pan mean global. A global Africanist. Africa mean tying back to the land over there, the tribal structures. Because you gotta remember, in the early 1900s, they just now starting to penetrate the interiors of Africa after they've assaulted it from all sides. So when you look back to Africa with a clear view, of Pan-Africanism, of studying the global Africa. You'll see that they're going through the same thing we going through, and they got the same motherfuckers invading them that we got invading us. We just ain't got the shit to realize. That's what the Berlin Conference was about. Because once they thought they had us under control, then they doubled back and held the Berlin Conference. Okay, now that we got them motherfuckers over there under control, what we gonna do about these niggas over here? See, so in the Berlin Conference, they divided Africa up into lines of demarcation to make countries. Africa wasn't divided up by countries like this, which y'all see in this modern map. Africa was divided up by tribal rights to cleanse the land. It had nothing to do with modern politics. All the way up until recently, they started drawing these lines of demarcation that's based on the Berlin Conference. So if you following what Garvey said, you're going to run into a guy named Stephen Biko. You're going to run into a writer named Sheikh Anta Diop. You're going to run into a writer named Walter Rodney. You're going to run into a writer named Frantz Fanon. And you're going to run into a whole bunch of motherfuckers say, why do y'all keep thinking y'all came the fuck from over here? Nigga, you from over there. The Africans in Africa keep telling us that we from over here, and we keep arguing them down, say, Master Good Book say, I'm from over there. I came on a ship, and I was shackled and chained for 90 days, crossed them waters. Get the fuck out of here. Yes, I don't never want to forget about Steve Coakley. Steve Coakley was the one pulled the lines of communication for the Masonic orders all the way out in the open. Oh, Ivan Van Sertima, they came before Columbus, but he also edited African presence in early Europe, African presence in early Asia, African presence in early America, and he laid that shit out. They came before Columbus, like nigga don't believe Columbus was the first one of the scouts they sent over here. They had already scouted you out before Columbus came. They just was coming to fulfill sending Columbus to sea. Read the memoirs of Columbus. Read what he wrote in his diary, the diaries of Columbus. He said that these gonna be some easy motherfuckers to overthrow down here, because these motherfuckers believe in some shit called love and prosperity and treat your brother the way you treat yourself. All that shit in this book. Right. But Steve Coakley didn't understand where the Boule was so when he was talking about the Boule, he was talking based on French noble standards and French nobility, and the Boule would be the commoners who worked throughout the community to relay information back to the crown. That's what he got the term Boule for. He called them the Black Boule because he said they was feeding the information back to the so-called white man. But Steve Coakley never discovered the fact that the goddamn white man ain't even white. He didn't never discover that fact. Because had he discovered that fact, he would have took a 180-degree turn and he'd have seen the real enemy, and then he'd have had a whole bunch of support, because he would have seen clearly the devil face to face. And that's when all hands would have been on deck to back Steve Coakley up. And they wouldn't have let him poison him. I didn't know if I was supposed to tell y'all he got poisoned. But he was putting motherfuckers on the trail so thick, right? Because, now remember, Noble Ali said, I took all of the secrets out the secret societies, put it in public domain. All of the fraternal orders come through the Prince Hall schools. Except for the ones that's called Red Lodge. Then they spin offs from the Scottish Rite. Like, you know, so you got two different groups of fraternities and sororities, and sometimes they'll almost have the same call letters and be on the same campus, and you will have one mistaken for the other, because they always try to undermine you, like by changing the names or making the names slightly closely related to the righteous ones. Christopher Columbus was a Tawny Moor, and he was led on his voyage by a blackamoor named Peter the Black, or Pietro del Negro, or Peter the Nigger, whatever the fuck you want to call him. The White Hats is a group of retired military personnel in conjunction with active military generals who discovered the fraud and was more inclined to fight against the machine, so to speak, and then support the oppression of the people they swore to defend and protect. They believed one thing when they was taking their oath, but their corporation was telling them something else. Well, they didn't like that shit, and they got a lot of retired generals is very pissed about the deception, and they got a lot of close comrades that's still active duty that was also pissed when they all discovered the fraud. So this is what caused them to come together, and this is how they was able to wrestle control of the military-industrial complex out of the hands of George Herbert Walker Bush and the Prescott family and the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, who was working for the black nobility of Europe in establishing it in order to have a military stronghold over here so that we could never come from under the oppression. But that shit don't work. We ain't that goddamn dumb. And then you fucked around and you let some pale faces that gave a fuck about these brown faces get in positions of power and see what the fuck they was doing. And just like I told y'all, all skin folk ain't kin folk, but every motherfucker that don't look like you ain't your enemy either. Right? They use pale faces to block the institutions of learning, of finance, which is the banks, and for motherfucking social, which is politics, which is your city council, governments, and your school boards. We was all being blocked by pale faces from being able to get into any of those positions. So this is what was the cause of the Ellis Island immigration when they say Europe dumped out everybody they had on their streets and sent them over here, because it was a all pink motherfuckers on deck scenario. Everybody that looked like the motherfuckers they blocking the institution. If you ever want some shit called freedom on earth, come over here and we gonna overrun these institutions with friendly faces, and they gonna drag their motherfucking secrets out in the open too, like Madam H.P. Blavatsky or Aleister Crowley or Franz Bardone or Rudolph Steiner, motherfuckers that went in there and got that shit, like Manly P. motherfucking Hall, like motherfucking Henry Ford, that went what's the motherfucking name? Napoleon Hill, the Carnegie family who financed Napoleon Hill to get all of their secrets out, as many as you can, on how to keep your motherfucker self successful. And we gonna put all this shit in the public domain because they're not gonna keep Earth oppressed. It was a lot of people that didn't look like us that did a lot of work to liberate people that look like us. But it's a lot of people that look like us that did a lot of work to we don't never get free. So y'all gotta realize this shit don't got nothing to do with this right here. Don't have nothing to do with it. This don't have nothing to do with it. It's what's in here. This the shit that matter. What's in this motherfucker? What your heart made of? Y'all sit here, y'all don't realize. Go back and check out every motherfucking slave revolt, rebellion, or insurrection. It's going to always be somebody that don't look like us tell us, you know y'all a slave, right? If you want me to help you get free, I give you some guns, I give you some ammo, what you need. And then as soon as he get to telling us what we need to get free, some motherfucker look like us roll right in there and say, hey, Mauser, they plotting to escape on you, boss. I comes in to give them all up so I can get my motherfucking pension. Get your bitch ass out of here. And they always was spoiled by a motherfucker that looked like us that did not have our interest at heart. Because there's no way. The worst thing I discovered in all of this shit was the white man ain't white. That hurt my feelings so motherfucking bad. You could not imagine that I could say some niggas did this shit. That's the most upsetting thing, to actually run across that shit, cross-reference it multiple times saying I can't be right. But every time you reference that shit and cross-reference it, say, yep, it was the white man ain't white. Some niggas was behind it the whole time. And all it is, it's about right now, who gonna see these motherfuckers for what they is? Kanye West, Kyrie Irving, Rod Hayes. You know, the list goes on. The nation been telling us the whole fucking time, ever since Elijah had to escape the Moorish Science Temple and set up his own shit, because them niggas was fighting over there trying to overthrow Moorish Science Temple that Noble Drew Ali set up. So while they was so busy trying to tear that shit up and fighting on the inside for that shit, Elijah Muhammad just casually went on along and set up his shit. Like his wife told him, because Clara was the motherfucker that's the mirror flip to Farad Muhammad, but y'all don't know what I'm talking about. And that's where the power came from for the nation. Claire was the power. Claire was the real motherfucking Allah behind the scenes. Allah, the dark mother, big mama, the highest ranked matriarch on the land. You know, our Love Ill done a good job of what he was working with. That nigga fought snakes the whole way. Our Love Ill and what's my man used to be with him all the time? I forgot his name, but our brother Our Love Ill fought snakes. He couldn't wait to get the keys over to motherfucking Angel Bay. Look, and you go back and look. If you knew how strong the Muftis was in the lifetime, the Muftis was just like FOI. You wasn't finna get your hands on the prophet unless you was on the inside.
One with like everybody, an official meeting, and another.
You talking about Pan-Africanism under James Delaney? That's not what we talking about. When we trace our Pan-Africanism back, it stopped at two people. It stopped at W.E.B. Du Bois, and
I'm talking about that one.
And Marcus.
I'm talking about that. Yeah, that one.
Okay, now it's another faction of Pan-Africanism that goes back before them. And those were the ones we hijacked because they was the ones hijacking us.